Have you ever found something that didn't belong to you? An object that seemed ordinary, but held a dark secret? Tonight, we explore the story of a seemingly innocent locket found at a flea market. But this locket is no ordinary trinket. It carries a curse, binding its wearer to the tragic fate of the one who owned it before. Some gifts are better left untouched. Welcome to episode 7 of Whispers in the Dark, Late Night Tales, and the chilling story of the cursed locket.
In a bustling flea market on the outskirts of town, you can find almost anything. Old books, forgotten toys, antiques that carry the weight of time. But among the clutter of curiosities, there are objects that hold more than just history. There are items that should never be found, that hold secrets and curses too dark to imagine. And so it was, one chilly afternoon, when a young woman named Sophie wandered through the market, her eyes scanning the tables of trinkets and treasures. She was drawn to a small stall tucked away in the corner, its shelves lined with old jewellery and dusty keepsakes. It was there she saw it, a delicate silver locket nestled in a velvet-lined box, its surface tarnished with age. The locket was simple yet beautiful, its oval shape adorned with intricate engravings that seemed to dance in the dim light. Sophie picked it up, the metal cool against her skin. She could feel a strange pull, a sense of familiarity, as if the locket was meant for her. She asked the old woman behind the counter how much it was.
That's so beautiful. How much for that locket?
It's not for sale, dear. The old woman's voice was firm, her eyes dark and serious. Some things are better left alone. Please, Sophie insisted, her fingers brushing over the delicate clasp. I'll take good care of it. The woman hesitated, then sighed, her shoulders sagging as she handed the locket over. You've been warned. It's your burden now. Her words sent a chill down Sophie's spine, but she shrugged it off, too enchanted by the locket's beauty to care. She took the locket home, feeling a strange sense of excitement as she opened it. Inside, there was a faded photograph of a young woman, her eyes sad and distant. Sophie felt a pang of sympathy, wondering who the woman was and what her story could be. She clasped the locket around her neck, feeling a strange warmth as the metal touched her skin. That night, as she lay in bed, Sophie's dreams were filled with images she couldn't understand. She saw the young woman from the photograph, standing in a dimly lit room, tears streaming down her face. She was reaching out, whispering words Sophie couldn't hear. The dream shifted, the woman's face twisted in pain, her hands clutching the locket as if it was the only thing keeping her alive. Sophie woke with a start, her heart racing, her hands instinctively reaching for the locket around her neck. It felt heavier somehow, the metal cool and unfamiliar. She shook her head, telling herself it was just a dream, just her mind playing tricks on her.
It was just a dream.
But the dreams continued. Every night, Sophie saw more of the woman's life, her sorrow, her despair. She saw a man, his face twisted in anger, heard their voices raised in a heated argument. And then she saw the woman fall, her body crumpling to the floor, the locket slipping from her hand. Sophie would wake up gasping, her body drenched in sweat, the locket burning against her skin. She tried to take it off, but the clasp seemed stuck, the metal digging into her neck. She started to feel like she was losing her mind. The line between her life and the woman's growing blurred and thin. Desperate for answers, Sophie returned to the flea market, but the stall was gone, the old woman nowhere to be found. She asked the other vendors, but no one remembered the stall or the locket. It was as if it had never existed. Feeling more alone than ever, Sophie went home, the locket's weight pulling her down, her mind swirling with the woman's final moments. That night, she had the worst dream of all. She was standing in the woman's house, her heart pounding as she watched the man approach. His eyes were cold, his hands clenched into fists. The woman was pleading, her voice breaking with fear. Sophie tried to move, to scream, but she was frozen, trapped in the nightmare. "Please no," the woman cried, her hands reaching for Sophie, her eyes wide with terror. And then she was falling, the room spinning around her, the man's laughter echoing in her ears. Sophie felt herself being pulled down, the locket tightening around her neck, choking her. She woke up screaming, her hands clawing at the locket. It was suffocating her, the chain digging into her skin, her vision going dark. She stumbled to the mirror, her reflection distorted, her eyes wild with fear. She saw the woman's face staring back at her, her lips moving in a silent plea.
Help me.
Help me. The woman's voice echoed in Sophie's mind, her eyes filled with a desperation that broke Sophie's heart. She grabbed the locket, her fingers bleeding as she tried to pull it off. And then, with a final desperate scream, she yanked the chain free. The locket fell to the floor with a loud clang, the photograph inside fluttering out. Sophie collapsed, gasping for breath, tears streaming down her face. She looked at the photo, her heart aching for the woman whose life had been stolen, whose pain she had felt so deeply. The next morning, Sophie took the locket to a nearby lake, her hands shaking as she tossed it into the water. She watched as it sank, disappearing into the depths, the sunlight glinting off the metal one last time. She felt a strange sense of relief, the weight lifting from her shoulders, the curse broken. But as she turned to leave, she heard it, the faint, haunting melody of a music box drifting up from the water. She froze, her heart pounding in her chest. She looked back, but there was nothing, just the calm surface of the lake, the locket gone. She walked away, her steps slow and heavy, the sound of the music box fading into the distance. She knew she would never forget the woman's face, the way her eyes had pleaded for help. The locket was gone, but the memory would haunt her forever. Some objects hold more than just memories. Some carry the weight of a life cut short, a fate that repeats over and over again. If you ever find a locket at a flea market, think twice before you take it home. But remember, it's just a story. Or is it?